Well, going back now to our next guest, and I think he's on. His name is Nicholas Curl. He's a musician and an animator, lives in the United States in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, retired software and hardware test engineer, created animated poems for children, and has created animated music videos for the song he has written. He created 2 short animated cartoons for Sharon's first Big Bessie book. He created the illustrations for Sharon's Big Bessie book. And the feedback from people about your illustrations has been right on, Nick. So thank you so much for all your hard work. And also wanted to say that Nick sent every illustration to Sharon to get her approval and her pass on it. And I thought that was extremely thoughtful of him. And he's certainly been a great supporter, and we're sure blessed to have both of these people that are on, plus Michelle, for their love and their caring. And welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Hi, Nick. Sharon says hi.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Sharon, can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hello, Sharon.
She says hi.
Mom.
Great. I hope all are well.
Yeah, that's right. She's okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show today. It's a privilege.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I know you had lots of adventures with the illustrations too. Can you tell us? People have asked about both formatting and putting a book together, and I thought, you were such a great part of it.
Well, you know that this book was a collaboration of people located in different countries. And so I think it just came together wonderfully. And I applaud all of those folks, far and near, who took part in bringing this effort together. For the stories, I found that Sharon's stories have, for me, great imagery in her words. And what I mean by that is that I can select sentences from the beginning, the middle, or the end of a story and just come up with ideas on what kind of an illustration might be appropriate for a story. So hats off to Sharon for the way she's constructed these stories. They were very easy for me to work with. And in fact, you could probably take the stories and create some short animation. There's so much going on in them. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful pleasure for me to go ahead and develop those illustrations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think one thing about this journey that we had, it took so many years, partly because of COVID and partly because folks laid off a lot of people, and it was just interesting to try to get anything done. But I think one of the things is the coming together as a team, all the way from Atlas, who is a really important member as well, and Linda Jones and Victor. Can't say without Victor, because he kept her stories alive, and like she lived for these shows to hear the stories. Victor reading, and he just, he kept it going. He kept us going, because sometimes you just sort of fall into a hole and can't seem to get out of it. But with Victor doing that, so Victor, do you have any comments to say about your role? Because you were so great.
Believe me, it's a pleasure to read the stories. They're fun to read, and I try and put as much as I can into it because I know Sharon is listening. So it's a joy to read them, and an honor indeed. So I appreciate that it was so important to you guys to hear that being done.
No, thank you, Victor. You were so great. And all the editors were so great. And everybody that came together, Alice edited, all of us edited. And I could practically recite the whole book in my head now. And also, I wanted to say that we had congratulations from Mongolia. congratulations from Patagonia. Even one of the First Nations tribe in Patagonia sent congratulations to Alfredo. And we had congratulations from India, from Ireland, from England. So many different places celebrating. So it's amazing how the whole world banded together to bring this book to the world. So wanted to thank everyone. Nick, back to Nick now. Did you find that some stories were easier to illustrate or some were less hard, or anything that stood out to you in all that work? Because I know you've put in a lot of time and hours.
No, I think that sharing stories, as I mentioned earlier, it's just the imagery that it would conjure up in my mind, and it made the illustrations uh, pretty easy for me to do. They were time consuming and a bit tedious, but I just wanted to mention a couple of things. I did make a bit of a departure from the way that the adult handy darts looked. And so what I did was I went and did some research into what exactly is a handy dart. And so I thought it might be interesting to display the adults more like the actual vehicle. And I did continue to carry on the children's presentation from the earlier book. So I wanted to differentiate between the adolescents and the adults. That was one thing. And I also wanted to try and add some humor to the images. For example, on the cover, you see the COVID ball being pushed down the hill by Big Bessie. And to the right there is a tree with Tommy too sitting there. And a hole was carved out of the tree, presumably by some bird or something like that. But you can see a pair of eyes peering out, watching what's going on. Now, I don't know who those eyes belong to, but I thought that was kind of a humorous little thing to add to some of the pictures, along with other various forest creatures and birds and such. So I tried to add a little humor to the illustrations, and a little bit more detail, add some more features to the characters. And that was kind of the main goal, to try to stay true to the adventures that Sharon had so wonderfully depicted in the stories.
Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah, this book was a lot easier because the first book, it was sort of like every word or every part of the story, I had to keep asking like 23 questions. But Sharon had the stories in both books in her head. It was just a matter of the language problems that I had to keep asking. But this book was a lot easier because I could sort of have a meeting of the minds, and then I could tell her and write it down on the computer, and then she could correct it or let it be. She'd give me a thumbs up. So that was I've never had that experience before. I've written 4 or 5 books, but this is a book like, it was quite difficult in the terms of, at least in book 1. And want to thank the people, Heidi Muller, who did so much work, and Kwame, who came from Kenya and got a award from World Poetry out at UBC, and he was a guard in Kenya, and he didn't even know what a handy dart looked like, so we sent him a picture, and he did illustrated the whole book, and want to thank him and the team for book 1 as well. The pictures are different, but they have their own, and he had a good luck ending. He was a traffic guard in Kenya, in Nairobi, and he his company was able to send him to get his award here, World Poetry Award at UBC. And that's when we also had a book launch of one of our joint books for peace. And he just did such a good job in terms of, depicting that early Big Bessie, which sort of followed what we were going through when we were doing it, because we were pretty new to it. And the good ending was that his company was so impressed with him that they gave him a scholarship to go to university here. And he was here for a while in Vancouver, but it was too expensive, so he moved to Alberta. I've been trying to reach him, but I haven't been able to thank him. But Kwame was amazing to do it without seeing Sharon at all. And Sharon had picked him from about 4 or 5 people that wanted to illustrate. And to see him come in on the plane with Michael, and also from Africa, and she ran to him and they just hugged and hugged. It was so neat to see. So to thank book 1 people too. And I think book 2 is a little bit different because it's a different book, but amazing. So I was wondering if Kelly, Victor, or Malik, sorry, had any questions for either Nick or Laura or Victor or myself or Sharon.
I had a question for Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Fine.
Good. Okay, my question, in terms of animated movies, comic books, animation in general, what has inspired you?
Well, several years ago, I worked for a company, and one of their products was animation software. And being an employee, I was able to get my hands on a version of it. And I really started out just writing very simple poems for children. But then when I saw that I could get this animation software, I figured, you know what, let me see what I can do with this to breathe some life into these words. And so that's the way I started out. And I told this to Ariadne that many years ago, I don't know, 6, I had posted one of my animated poems on a Facebook poetry page. And she responded to it. And from that tiny little seed, here we are today. And I've already expressed how grateful and honored and just so appreciative that I've been able to go on this journey with all of you folks there. And so really it was from trying to bring to life, I guess, these simple little children's poems, because I know that for children, cartoons and such are very interesting to them.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
Ariadne, I can ask Laura a question. Oh, hi, Laura. I have a question
Hello.
to you.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi. You are a well-gifted individual, being at the same time a poet, writer, dancer, musician, and a formatter. My question to you is how one art form helps another express certain emotions vividly.
Sorry, the question is how
one art form helps another express certain emotions vividly.
Oh, well, I certainly feel like music and visual art go together very easily. And of course, and dance along with that, right?
Yeah.
When I'm creating songs, writing songs, sometimes maybe I'll start with the lyrics, or I'll have a melody in my head. And then sometimes along with that come visuals as well. And then it comes as a kind of a package as to how it will be presented visually. So then I can kind of work on the vision of it. And then the sound is shaped by the vision, and then reciprocally back and forth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This is wonderfully you expressed. Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you very much.
Thanks for asking.
Else, Victor, you have a question?
Yeah, I did for Nicholas Curl. Nicholas, I noticed in your background you're a poet and an animator. I'm a bit of a film buff myself and always have a love for tunes. I wonder if you would, and I love the artwork in the book and the detail of it. Everything is so finely drawn. Would you talk a little bit about the animation that you've done?
Well, it's right there on my YouTube channel. It's the animated poems and the animated music videos. And that's pretty much what I focused on, in addition to the little cartoons that I created to support Sharon's first book. Is that what you're asking me? Where
Well,
I've
well, for starters, I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel, which I assume if you type in Nicholas Curl, C-U-R-L, on YouTube, you'll find that channel?
Well, if you type in Nix Flix, that's Nixflix space and then my name, Nicholas Curl, you'll see it there. The name of the YouTube channel is Nix Flix, and I believe that at least on Ariadne's World Poetry webpage, there was a link to it.
Right, I think so. I just haven't had a chance to try to resurrect it because it's been so busy, but I hope to keep it going again. Yeah, I'll have to take a look.
I subscribe to you, Nick.
Well, thank you. Oh, so you're the one. Thank you so much. I haven't done too much there. I did upload a song that I wrote. It's kind of raw. You know what? I think more of myself as a songwriter because there are many more people who are better skilled at singing and playing the guitar. But yeah, I haven't done too much since the original ones. I've been working on creating some other songs, and so I did create one not too long ago that I uploaded to a songwriting contest. Now there were 6,000 plus other candidates, so I really didn't put a lot of faith in mine making it through that. I was just thrilled that they posted it on their contest website. Yeah, if you just type in Nixflix, Nixflix, and then my name, Nicholas Curl, you'll see up come a image of a blue circle with Nixflix in it, and that's me.
Indeed, I tried doing it just now, and if you type in just Nicholas Curl, a couple of posts you've done come up, but there's a lot of stuff about curling. But there's a thing for your site right there, and I've just clicked on it. And I'm just looking at what looks like a lot of really interesting stuff. The Traveler, Nightlight, New Friend, all of these are a combination of audio, they're adult, rather, kids, videos, there's all sorts of stuff. So I suggest people check out Nixflix, Nixflix, one word on YouTube. And I'll keep quiet.
Could I just make just throw something out there? The way I create songs is I have this software that will allow me to, for example, record individual guitar tracks and record a voice track. These are all separately, and the software allows me to merge them together into a song. And that's what you'll see on the songs there. And the software is free to download from the internet. And I always thought it might be interesting to try and create a world song in which people from other countries who play instruments can record their instrument on a track. It's called a wave file. And we can pass these files along through either the cloud or email. And for example, someone who plays drums in over where you folks are located can record that and send that to me, and then I can record some guitar to go along with those drums and merge those two together and send it to some other country where someone may play keyboards and can record and merge theirs. And in that way, we could kind of build up a world song. I just thought I would like to throw that out there and see if anyone might be interested in trying that.
I would be interested in promoting it, Nick, if you write me specifically, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone wants to, they can contact me through Nixflix, or I don't know how you would feel about this, Ariadne, contact you and you could pass along my contact information.
Yeah, just contact me with the information and I'll send it out.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. I guess the other thing about Sharon, we met with Linda and Victor about her wish to become an advocate for specially abled people. And she feels it's so important because I know when she was doing a class in Surrey, people would come up to her and say, "Oh, I've got a story. I need to say something." And, you know, everybody has creativity in them. So she thought of, and she's already done this. She's had 2 or 3 people whose caregivers wrote who were suicidal. And she dictated to me, to them, and then to the people. And we've gotten some little stories and little bits and pieces of things. And it just helped them so much because everybody is creative. And whether you're famous or challenged or especially abled or little or young, everyone has that need to create. And in the Greek, it says, coming from the void. Everybody needs to be able to do that. And with Linda, her other person advisor, she did a brochure because Sharon had a book launch out at Surrey Center. And she did a brochure, a form, and all the people that answered that form said that it was very important for them to be able to express themselves, whether it's 1 word or 2 words or terrific amounts of words. And I found that when Sharon and I were doing a lot of workshops with elderly too, they too had that need without judgment to express themselves, to bring from the void and to create. And I think that's a very healthy part of the human condition as well. So I think Sharon will be able to do quite a bit as an advocate, and realizing that even 1 word from someone that can't really speak means the world to them. And then maybe from 1 word comes another. And then maybe 1 word comes one after. So I think Nick's idea was wonderful and fantastic, and Sharon's idea of trying to help all of people that they're welcome to create without criticism, without being put down. And, you know, pretty soon you have a beautiful bunch of flowers, right? Rather than sticking inside them and they're frustrated and angry and depressed and sad and unhappy. So is that right, Sharon? Did you wish to add to that? Or
Yeah.
Did I say okay on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess the form that Linda sent out, they said that the class was the most important thing to them because there were stories. They were able to express themselves. And I think too often we put a judgment and then our egos get involved and, oh, I'm the best or they're the best or whatever. But, you know, even 1 word from someone that can't really speak can mean the world to them. And anyway, I'll stop talking now. Does anybody have anything to add to or want to say? I have 1 promo as well as next week's. I don't know what. Okay, so I just wanted to say I want to thank Victor and our team for all the support of Sharon and myself. Really important to us. And I just have 1 brief promo which I'll do later on next week. But this is that just came in on behalf of the Vancouver Moving Theatre Society. I'm delighted to share the outstanding news that Terry Hunter and Savannah Walling, co-founders of Vancouver Moving Theatre Society, VMT, and the DTES, part of the City Festival, which Will Porter was part of it for many years, have been appointed members of the Order of Canada in recognition of their profound contributions to arts and community building in Canada. So that's just a brief one. And I just wanted to say that next week we have Stephen from Ireland, and he's always entertaining. He's a musician as well. He's a storyteller, and Karen, I think, has a story that she wrote about the wee folk, which maybe we'll send. And also Vani Pradeep, who does a monthly show from India, recording. And we have Gabriola, which we're trying to squeeze in. And she has a new CD. She is from Switzerland. And she was supposed to be in Mozambique at the time that I had booked her for, but she asked if she could come on briefly next week before she goes to perform in Mozambique. So thank you all, and thank everyone for coming on today. Victor, of course, and our team, and Laura Kelsey and Nicholas Curl, and also Atlas, who's been phenomenal. And if there's anybody else, please forgive me, but I think we did a great job with this poetry.
Well,
Sorry, we did a great job.
you did a great job, by golly, and we're
Sure.
just running out of time, so I'm just going to say, Kelly Montgomery, do you have a closing poem, please?
Victor Schwartzman, I do. Love conquers all, big and small. What is this strangeness that I feel? Is not everything at face value. Can I trust what I do feel? Such a battle done. I rest back on the fight. Memories so big, it can only be so right. I will just keep trusting that I can enjoy and send out love. Nothing better to employ. Thanks a lot.
Nice. Thank you so much. And Malakama, do you have a closing poem for today's cafe?
Yes, I do. And this poem is called I Always Fall Short. I could never buy any of the things to my liking. I always fall short. I wanted to buy a brand new car, but I couldn't as I fell short. A condo of my own, I dreamt a lot, but the price was so high that I fell short. She, who once came into my life and said, I love you, looking into my eyes, she left me alone, and again I fell short. By this time, the sun has inclined towards the west sky, and I thought of trying. How many things can I do without? This helped me smile, helped me enjoy beautiful flowers, the blue sky above, bird song, and I never fell short. Now the world runs after me. The other day, a realtor came and asked, Hey, buddy, are you still looking for a condo? I laughed a lot and said, No, I have already. It's in fact a small studio suite in the basement of a huge apartment building, but big enough to sleep an eternal sleep. After drifting along with the ocean's waves, I finally became mature, and I never cried for candies like the babies in a grocery store. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Malakama. That was really great. And I believe we have time for one final piece, a story of mine. Due to popular demand, Ariadne tells me people like my stories. And you know what this show is all about, writing. And our two guests would certainly know about putting your work out there, how difficult it is to submit it if you have to publishers. And then once it's even published, you never know how the reader will react. So I wrote this story once when I was frustrated with submitting myself. It's called Emily Dickinson Hated Submitting. Emily Dickinson hated submitting, but she loved writing. So by her 60s, she had The shoebox is full of unpublished poetry. By then, getting older, she decided it was time to finally be published. First, she tried to find an agent, but poetry didn't sell. No agents considered it. She rejected self-publishing, sniffing at what she called the vanity press, so she had to find a publisher. Most wouldn't consider simultaneous submissions. She had to submit the poems to one publisher at a time, and each publisher could take a year to respond. To send out all of her poetry, she divided it up into 39 separate submissions and sent them out. After a little over a year, 12 publishers ceased to exist, and the rest rejected her poetry. A few gave a reason. No one buys poetry books, but most didn't bother. She never knew how many of her poems were actually read by the publishers. Did any of the publishers get beyond the first poem or the first page? Emily Dickinson hated submitting. Forced to reconsider self-publishing, she put together an anthology of her poetry and published it herself. Then Emily was lucky and broke her leg. A TV station's feature on the local recluse author who wrote poetry with a broken leg was a feel-good story that went viral. The publicity sent sales of her book soaring. People liked her poetry, and after 6 months, she had sold over 4 million copies. It had become the largest selling volume of poetry in the century. She kept writing, but now had fans. Yeah, eventually unpublished writers began sending her their own poetry, asking for advice or help. It took a year for her to get to a manuscript in the slush pile. She rarely read when she picked it up more than the first page. Emily Dickinson hated submitting. And that is my story. And this was the World Poetry Cafe for the first week of August in 2023. Thank you so much for listening. We're broadcast every Thursday on CFRO FM 100.5 from downtown Vancouver. We also post on Mixcloud and are heard overall in 181 countries plus Kitsilano. So thank you so much for listening, and remember to make tomorrow a better day than today. So, and really, a really great show and a great celebration. I should cut this part in. A great celebration today of Sharon Rowe's new book, available on Amazon, Big Bessie Stories, Volume 2. And if anyone has any last words, by golly, now's the time to say them and I'll put them in.
Congratulations, Sharon.
Yes, I'd just like to say my love to Sharon, to you, Ariadne, Victor, Kelly, Malik, Atlas, and Laura. Just been a wonderful trip. Thanks for the ride.
Yeah, and also I'd like to congratulate Sharon for the book, and also I'd like to appreciate Nicholas for his great work in the book. I have purchased that book. I have that in my hand. I liked all the illustration made by Nicholas and all the stories by Sharon. Congratulations, Sharon, and appreciate Nicholas too. Thank you.
And Atlas, do we have anything there? They're still here with us.
Hey,
Anything?
Atlas
Yeah.
just ran off already. He just ran off.
Okay, and do you have anything to conclude with? Because I'll cut that in, and it's a really nice way to end the show.
No, just Sharon, congratulations again. You did a great job. Ariadne, you're just so supportive to Sharon and her creative endeavors, and it's so exciting to see that the book is complete.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the meeting now. That's a really great way. I'm glad I asked you all to wrap up the show because it's a celebration of the book. Okay, everybody, thank you all so much, and you'll be
Thank
getting
you,
those
Victor.
links.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I got
And this edition of the World Poetry Cafe, heard in 181 countries, broadcast every Thursday on CFRO FM 100.5 from downtown Vancouver, will conclude with another song from Laura Kelsey. Previously, you heard Die in Your Dreams, and this one is called Beyond the Tide, and it's as much as we can fit in. Thank you so much for listening today to the World Poetry Cafe.
Stand beyond the tide, cutting strings that twist and bind. If we listened, we might find that the water speaks inside each mind. Find out who ain't real, what is true. Transparency the melody returns. It shifts, it lifts, it burns. The chosen ones have heard all the